Welcome to Two Small Biz Guys Biz Buzz. Stay tuned for an exciting small business discussion that will empower your business. And don't forget your free download of Ray's Crib Notes. Now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Zen Benefield. Welcome to Biz Buzz with myself and
Ray Silverstein. I'm glad to be here, Zen.
yeah, me too. I'm glad you're here too.
Oh,
Zen. And maybe we'll be Zen.
oh, to Zen. Okay.
Well, welcome to this show. We're talking about the book "Thank You for Being Late" by Thomas Friedman. And interesting, and you've actually seen that on the opening. The interesting subheading of that is an optimist's guide to thriving in the age of acceleration. And we're going to talk about that acceleration in just a minute. So what spurred you to read this book in the first place, Ray?
Well, this is not a business book, which I normally read. This is really a book about society and business in general. But I read his previous book, The World is Flat. And I found that book was really scary.
Those flat earthers will have anything to do with this one.
Well, okay, what he meant by flat is that, in other words, the communication is there and everybody can hear or learn or communicate with one another. So I believe that book was written in 2004, after the 2000 economic disaster for the telecommunication firms. And all of a sudden you were able, like people bought up their assets and you were able to communicate very inexpensively.
Cheap networks, in other words.
Well, actually what
those that were poised and ready, maybe expecting that to happen, were ready to jump in and buy up the networks.
Yeah, it could be. But the aspect is now the result of that was this book was talking about globalization. And because communication was so easy to communicate from, like, for example, it's easier and cheaper to communicate from Chicago to India than was Chicago to South Bend. So what are the results of that? It means that you can now have virtual assistants overseas. It means you can now have legal research done overseas. It means that you can—
as long as you can understand them.
Right.
Well, that's been the biggie.
Well, that's still a problem. But the aspect is you can now communicate, and if there's a problem, you can resolve those issues face to face.
Now, would you also say that, we're understanding that English is becoming the world language? Do you think that really pushes that agenda, having those off-site customer service reps that need to develop their ability to speak English?
Well, at least for us it does. But okay, let's go back to this book.
Sure.
Here he talks, first of all, the title is kind of a misnomer. Thank You for Being Late. Where the title comes from is that he was having lunch one day and the other party called him and said, Tom, I'm not going to be there for a half hour, 45 minutes. So he sat back and was thinking about what was going on. So it gave him the opportunity to really think about what was going on in the world. And he was thinking about the acceleration of technology.
Now, do you think that most people, when they have those moments and there's a pause in the flow, so to speak, that where do they go? What do they think about? Are they thinking about, okay, how can I further myself? Or do they take advantage of that moment? Or do you think that they miss the opportunity and just think about trivial stuff?
Well, his comment is sometimes to go fast, you have to slow down. And to go fast, you have to sit back and think about where are we going, what am I going to do, and how am I going to approach it. But in this book, he really is talking about the acceleration of technology. And he cites 2007 as being a year of massive change, primarily led by the smartphone. Because with the smartphone, all of a sudden—
But it was still kind of dumb then.
Well, yeah.
Compared to what we did have, though. I mean, you've got this device in your hand.
Okay. I still could use a flip phone.
Yeah.
I'm very confident on a flip phone.
Right.
But the aspect was you now had more storage, you had higher speeds of connectivity, and also the aspect was that with that phone you can now hook into the Google. You could Google into the internet or anywhere.
Well, it kind of is the Google. Right?
So the aspect is
now.
So the aspect is that one person can have huge amount of influence in the world, which they couldn't have before. So he really talks about Moore's Law a lot. And for those who are not familiar, because at my pro meetings last week, when we discussed this, about half the people were not familiar with Moore's Law, which kind of surprised me. Because even though I'm not a techie, I heard of it.
Right. They think less of Moore's Law.
But Moore's law basically is at the speed of, it was founded by Mr. Moore, who was head of Intel. And he was asked by Electronics Magazine, what do you think the speed of connections is going to be over the next 10 years? So he off the cuff said, well, I think they're going to double every 18 months to 2 years, a compound increase, which is a huge amount of increase.
And he's also in a position to see that as far as the miniaturization of the technologies that they were working with. I mean,
Right.
they were the ones that were developing.
Yeah, well, he's head of the company in charge of engineering, so he sees that. But the interesting part is that Moore's law did not stop at 10 years. It's still continuing today.
Mhm.
So we have had, say, over 50 years of a compound effect of the speed of connection doubling almost every, say, 2 years. And well, that's a huge amount. So all of a sudden you can take major items of communication and compact it down so small. So you got in 2007, you got the new smartphone.
Right.
So that was the aspect, and he talks about in this book is that technology today is accelerating to a point where in 5 to 7 years, what was invented is now obsolete.
Right. Well, back when it first started, you couldn't download major files. You know, you had smaller hard drives. The speed of connection was less,
And the storage.
and the storage. And now, you know, you can download a series of books or a movie in seconds.
Okay, but the aspect is, okay, so you can do all that from the, say, the public side.
Mhm.
But what is the aspect on that on business, society? If technology is doubling so quickly, how do people adapt to it? How does the
Consumers
business-
expect it now, and so how does the business turn around and deliver it in the expectation levels of the consumer now?
Well, consumers may expect it, but consumers also are befuddled by a lot of these changes. For example, we're talking about the speed of technology doubling means the possibility of driverless cars, the possibility of, they talk about the shrinkage of the, now I'm having a senior moment,
Okay, well,
of 3D printing,
right.
where all of a sudden now 3D printing buildings, which has to do with technology.
Mhm.
So all these things are changing the world and the way we expect the world to be. And how does it expect your business? So we talked before going on doing this, we were talking about Kodak.
Right.
And who would have thought that Kodak would be in bankruptcy? Who would have thought that the smartphone would put Kodak basically into bankruptcy? I mean, these are
Better, faster, smaller.
major ramifications. So in your business, you really have to think about how you're going to be in business. Now, he talks about in here, I think one of the most interesting, he talks about when he graduated college. And in college, he basically took up training or education to do a particular business. He says his daughters are going to school. When they graduate, they're going to learn to get their first job. But in order to maintain some type of reasonable income, they're going to have to continually learn.
Diversify.
What he
Right.
calls dynamic stability.
Okay.
And in order to be successful in business or have a good earning job, you need dynamic stability.
And if you want to know more about that, you can download Ray's Crib Notes at ProPres.com/thank-you. That's PROPRES.com/thank-you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
let me read one. I'm going to read one quote that he has,
Oh,
which I
from
think
Ray
has a similar.
Kurzweil.
Mr. Kurzweil is the director of engineering at Google. He
Now,
says,
he's
we are
really well known in the electronic industry.
yes, and by his family too.
Yeah.
He says, we are entering an age of acceleration. The models underlying society at every level, which are largely based on a linear model of change, that's linear model of change, are now going to be redefined because the explosive power of the exponential growth, rather than linear. The 21st century will be equivalent to 20,000 years of progress at today's rate of progress. Organizations have to be able to redefine themselves at a faster and faster pace. Now, there's discussions about this, that this type of aspect. When we had the discussion, I brought out an article that was in the New York Times that was talking about the new Amazon store, which was in Seattle, and that retailers are all paying major attention to the store. And why is that? Because basically, the amount of manpower in that store is reduced substantially. Technology is overwhelming. There's sensors everywhere that tell, first of all, you don't have to have stock chasers check the stock. It's done by every time you pick up something, your computer reads that that item has been moved and now have a new count. It tells you when you get to a minimum count when to replenish the stock. It also means that when you enter the store, you give authorization to the store on your phone that they can bill you on your phone.
And it tallies everything up,
Yeah,
reads all the
right.
SKU
So-
codes or bag strips or whatever.
So there's cameras everywhere. And when you pick up something and put it in your shopping bag, all of a sudden it's red and it now goes into your tallies. When you walk out of the store, your invoice is ready and you just punch OK. So when you think about that in retail, you think, well, retail is going to be here to stay. Well, retail is here to stay, but in a different aspect.
Right.
And then if you think about the loss of privatization, where if people are purchasing on Amazon right now, Amazon knows everything what you're doing. And now if you purchase on stores that Amazon is involved with,
And they follow you around
they
the
follow
road.
you around.
Yeah.
So it's kind of overwhelming to people in general. So these changes are really massive, but we're kind of accepting them. But the aspect is they're going to be so quick now. One aspect he talks about in this book is about the patent office, where patents normally take 3 years to obtain.
Mhm.
And if technology is accelerating at 5 to 7 years, it means that you got maybe 2.5 years on your patent.
Right.
Is that really what happens? Is it really worthwhile to patent something? Does the patent office have to change as to how they process? He talks a lot about education and the type of education that people have to receive in the future. And again, if you want to read more of this detail, because the book is about 500 pages, get my crib notes at propres.com/thank you, THANK-YOU.
And you can find out what more about dynamic stability and how that might affect you and your business, and maybe some key points to think about in the process.
Right. So this is really, I thought it was really scary stuff for business, because it means you can't think about what is in the past. The people used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And nowadays, you better break it and have a new model.
And that's one thing Paul Pilsner said back in the 90s, if it ain't broke, break it.
Right. And I remember I went to this goes back many years ago, I was at a workshop about innovation. And Boeing at that time said, we're in business to destroy our product. And what they meant by that is, if we don't find a new and improved product, competition will.
Mm-hmm.
So to those of you who are out in business, think about this, how you position yourself so you can continue to stay in business.
And maybe you might want to add one more thing to that SWOT analysis.
What
The
is
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Well, now we need to look at trends.
Well, but trends are also part of the threats.
Right. But we don't necessarily think about that specifically, whereas with the increase of technology now and the escalation of the process of reshaping, reimagining, and re-engineering products on a daily basis, this is a huge impact.
Yeah, but also think about the education and work that you learn something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not willing to learn something new and change, this whole technology, this whole aspect means people have to be willing to adapt to change. And change is very difficult for a lot of people to adapt to. They don't like
Absolutely.
change.
And if you find yourself in an outlying area, if you're not Chicago or Phoenix, where Ray has his peer advisory groups, we're going to be starting up an online version that is going to give you access to other people that might help you in that process of change. Because we don't individually have all the answers, but collectively we can probably figure it out.
Well, I just say my job is to ask questions. My wife says I ask too many questions. So if you want to get some answers, get my crib notes of the book. You don't have to read all 500 pages. You can just read 10 pages, double space maybe.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a quick download.
so go to propres.com/thank you. That's THANK-YOU.
And thanks for listening. I'm Zen, and
Ray.
And we'll see you
Hey,
next
thanks for
time.
watching Two Small Biz Guys Biz Buzz, brought to you by Pro Peer Advisory Board. Stay tuned for more exciting small business discussions in future episodes. And don't forget your free download of Ray's Crib Notes for this show. See you next time.